Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how to make little budgie parakeet charm. People have been asking me how to make these for a long time, so I thought it'd be good to make that my first actual tutorial. So first thing you will need is, I'm going to use some white Primo. I used to use Sculpting a lot, but I heard that Primo was a little bit better, a little sturdier, so I've started using that. You're just gonna start off with making just a little round ball. Just roll it out with your hands. The size is pretty much up to you. Like this one right here, this finished one is pretty tiny. I'd probably want to make it a little bigger than that, but again, it's pretty much up to you how big you want it. So it looks like a pretty good size right there, you can see. The next thing I'm gonna be doing is making the jump loop. I already made a video just exclusively on how to do that, if you want to watch that for some more details, but you can watch right here how I make that. Okay, there we go. Once you have that, I kind of like to make like very almost pear shape, like a very squat kind of pear shape, you know, just kind of, you know, pinched at the top a little bit. Wow, it wasn't even in frame, sorry. A little bit pinched. See, it's pretty much like an egg shape basically is what you're trying to go for there. So once you have that, you can put in your loop very carefully like that, and it's gonna get squished a little bit. You're gonna lose your shape, but you can mold it back once you're done. Okay, so it's kind of, you want it kind of flattened on the back too, a little rounder in the front where the face is gonna be. After you do that, you're gonna get some translucent liquid Sculpey. Mine is super dirty and gross, I'm sorry. Take some and kind of just fill in where the loop went in, where those spaces are. Just kind of use a needle to just smooth it and fill it in so that your loop is going to be a little more secure, like that. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is making the tail. So you can get another needle. I like to use a kind of a little bit thinner needle for this, and you're going to basically pick in the back, a spot where you want the tail to be. Just kind of lower right in the middle there. And I like to score where I'm going to be attaching, you know, like tails or ears or anything like that when I make these. And that just kind of helps it grip together and, you know, not just pop off after you bake it. So, let's see. So just do that. And then you're actually going to make the tail. So you're just going to get a little piece of clay. Just kind of shape it into a cone. You can make it as short as or as long as you want. It's up to you. And then just kind of go around and just pinch the edges a little bit. And then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to score the back where it's going to attach to the body, which will help it stay put. And then you can take some more TLS and just use it just kind of like a glue, just for some extra support there. Okay, and then you're just gonna attach like so. And then I like to use a kind of thicker needle to just sort of smooth down, make them kind of come together. All nice and smooth. You can use your fingers too to just kind of pinch it, get it nice and smooth there. Okay, so after that, we're going to be doing the wings. So again, I like to score the area where the wings are going to be. So just right here on the side, just kind of do like a cross hatching. Like that. And I'm just going to get a little piece of clay. You might have to go back, like the size might not be right the first time you do it, so you might have to, like, you know, squish it, start over, add some more clay, or make it smaller. But usually just get a little piece and make kind of like a, I can see that, like a teardrop almost, and just kind of flatten it out with your fingers. Then I just like to see if that's going to be a good size. I think that will. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So then I'm just going to make one exact same size as that to match. Yeah, that looks good. And then I'm just gonna score these like I did the tail and that other area where the wings are gonna go. Add some TLS there too. There we go. And then you're just gonna put it right on there. Just kind of press it down. Take your needle and just kind of smooth out any bumps. Might be there. And then you're just gonna repeat on the other side. Score that area. Some more TLS. Score this guy and put him on right there. Just press that down. And so there we've got the wings on. You kind of see how that's looking. And then the last thing you're gonna sculpt is the little beak. And I just like to take really tiny piece of clay, just kind of roll it out. Actually, that's a little too thin. Just kind of roll it out and then take a little piece, really little piece, and just kind of, this is like ridiculously tiny, but just kind of make a little triangle with it. Just kind of like, I don't even know if you can see that. Just kind of make a triangle with your fingers, and then just gonna put it right in the middle on the front. You might have to, you know, get in the right position there. It's kind of tricky. And then I just like to kind of basically shape it with the needle. Just kind of nudge it where it needs to be. And then once it's in the right spot, you just kind of press it down a little bit and then use the needle to just smooth it into the body and kind of shape it how you want. Basically, it's just a little triangle on the front of the face there. So there, you've got your little parakeet all nice and sculpted. When you bake them, I like to use, I think it's just called like a bead baking rack. And it's got these little pins, so basically you just put your charm through there and just set it in like that. So you don't have to, you know, set it down on a baking sheet because then you get a little flat spot on the bottom, which is really annoying. So this just lets it hang and, you know, bake without any kind of, you know, stuff going on the bottom. I got mine on Amazon. I've heard you can get them at Michael's, but if you just Google like a bead bake rack, you'll be able to find them. And I don't think they're that expensive. I think it was like $15 or something. But so yeah, just bake according to the directions on your clay. I think it's like 275 for 30 minutes. My oven doesn't have 275, and I had to bake them at 280, and it was fine. So, you know, if your oven doesn't have that exact 275, you'll be okay. So yeah, once you bake them, we'll get ready for painting. This is the type of brush that I like to use just for the base coat. I'm gonna start with a white base coat for this, just kind of like a nice, you know, flat, wide brush. Just gonna get some white acrylic paint and just kind of paint it on with big strokes. And like that, just make sure it's all nice and covered. And I like to do maybe about like 4 or 5 coats, drying in between, just so it's nice and completely covered, and you know, any little specks or dust or anything get covered up. I know that I've heard that some people like to use nail polish remover to get like dust and stuff off of baked charms, and I have yet to try that. I'm kind of curious about that, but anyway, I like to get a nice, good, like thick coat of paint on these regardless. Get it nice and smooth on there. Yeah, just keep doing that. Do about like 4 or 5 coats on there. Once you have your white base coat on and dried, we're just gonna brush on some blue to pretty much the whole bottom of the charm. I'm using kind of a old ratty brush, but it's big enough so that it's good for kind of these larger areas of painting you want to do. Kind of brush that on the bottom like that. This might need a few coats to get this, you know, to the point where it's opaque and you don't see the white showing through. So just, you know, just do it until you feel like it's thick enough and good enough. And you want to kind of bring it up a little bit towards the sides of the wings here. It almost makes kind of like almost like a little white beard, kind of a way to think of it when the white comes down. And you can kind of feather it too, just kind of like that. And you can go back in with white too and get it exactly how you want. So once we have our blue paint on the bottom, you can just go ahead and kind of create this little kind of brushed area right here. Just kind of, you know, tying the 2 spots together a little bit more. Just like dry brushing right there. There we go. And if any blue is kind of gotten on the wings here where they're supposed to be white, you can go ahead and kind of fix that up too. So you might have to, you know, let this paint dry, and then kind of go over it again just to create kind of like a nice textured area right in here. Once we have our white and blue base coats down, I'm just going to put on a very light preliminary coat of glaze. Basically, the reason why I do this is so that like while your charm, you know, paint's drying or whatnot, sometimes like dust or little fibers or hairs or whatever can get like embedded in the paint, and it's kind of annoying. And if you have a glaze coat, it can just wipe right off, like it doesn't stick to the charm. And also, if you're doing the eyes or any other kind of detail and you mess it up, it makes it a lot easier to just like wipe it right off if you're painting on top of this thin layer of glaze. And you can still paint on top of the glaze too, because it's that thin that, and you know, it's not like, you know, like if you had like 20 coats of glaze on here and you tried to like paint, you know, like paint a white spot over here, you would be able to tell, like it would be kind of like almost casting a shadow. It's kind of hard to explain, but it would look like a patch. But since this is so thin, you wouldn't get that. So that's why I like to kind of do this extra step here with the glaze. So yeah, we'll just let this dry and then we can start on the details. So now we can start putting on the eyes. I'm just using an empty mechanical pencil to do this. It holds pretty nice little droplet of paint. No, it's not the fanciest, coolest tool in the world, but it works for me. I've been using it for years and it's good for these really tiny little eyeballs. So I'm just gonna go in. You might have to try these a few times. I always mess it up and have to wipe it off and start over. Oh, that's actually pretty good. So it's really important to, once you do one eye, make sure it dries completely before you try to do the other one, because if you mess up this one and you have to wipe it off, you might screw this eye up, and that's lame. So just let it completely dry before you try to do the other one. So now that we have our eyes put on, we can start painting some more of the details. So I'm going to do the beak. Just going to use yellow paint for that, using a really tiny brush. I got all my brushes from Michael's. I usually just go and just try to find the absolute smallest ones I can find. Like you can see, this is really tiny. It's great for these little details here. So just gonna. Oh, this is hard. I'm used to painting these like right up to my face, so God, tricky with the camera here. There we go. So we've got our beak, and then we can move on to the tail. So I'm just going to use kind of a longer, thinner brush. I'm just going to be adding a black stripe to the tail area here. So just kind of right where the white and blue meet right here. So there's one side, and if it's not perfectly straight, usually I go back with the blue and just kind of like, you know, go in and straighten it out there and on the top with the white, because I like my lines to be pretty straight, and it's kind of hard to do it with a paintbrush on these little things. Do it on the other side. So this is pretty much what you want to end up with there. So yeah, just let these elements dry, and then we can go on to the other parts. Once those parts have dried, we can start creating some of the markings on the face. So first, I'm going to do the little cheek marks. So I'm just going to take a really tiny brush, just use some slightly darker blue than the base blue we've been using. Just kind of paint a little patch right under each eye here. So just kind of, they can kind of be an organic shape. They don't have to be any kind of perfect way, just like that. And then do the other side. All right, and we'll let that dry. So now we can make the little markings that are right above the beak. Same blue, same little brush, and just very carefully just create these two little dots like right there. Just like that. So you're starting to look a little bit more like a parakeet now. And then we're going to add a second pair of the little cheek markings. And that is going to be with sort of a darker blue. So these are just literally going to be two small dark blue spots right here underneath the other ones. They can kind of overlap a little bit too. So just like right there. And right there. So now we've got our markings. And then we can add some pink cheeks. I'm just going to use pink paint here. And just going to take my dotting tool, whatever it may be for you guys, and just right on either side of the eye. Right there. And right there. Got little cheeks now. And then we can take care of the feet. For the feet, I'm just going to use kind of a tan, light brown color. Same tool. Just put one right there like that. And like that. And there's your feet. So all that's left is are the markings that go on the head and on the wings, and those take a while. They're pretty tedious, so once all these parts dry, we'll start it on that. So now that all that's dry, we can start on the wings. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take our base blue that we've been using, and I'm just gonna do 2 rows of these little curved lines at this part of the wing. Kind of like almost like a scalloped pattern. So I'm just gonna, if you can see that, do 1. There we go. Then we'll do the next row. This is pretty tedious. This is why I always kind of hated having to make so many of these when I had my shop, because they just take forever. Okay, one more. Alright, so we've got our 2 rows of feathers there. And then, so with that same brush, 3 rows of black. Super fun. Okay, now once you have that done, like that, I'm gonna do 3 horizontal stripes going down the rest of the wing. Just like that. And then you get to turn it over and do it on the other side. So once you have your wings done and they're all dry, we can start on the really fun part, which is the head. So you're gonna take your tiny brush and some black paint and start the lines pretty much just about where, right in front of where the loop is. You can start tiny little lines and just keep going down. So this is kind of what you should end up with. I like to stop these lines pretty much right where the tail begins. So once that's all dry, he's ready to be glazed. He's pretty much done. So again, I use Varathane floor varnish and gloss to glaze. I like it a lot. It's pretty durable. It doesn't yellow or color anything. It's very clear and sturdy, so I think it's a good option for a glaze. I don't know if you saw that, but I just basically, you know, dipped him in here so he's completely covered, and then with this glaze brush, I only use it for glazing, I just kind of, you know, take off the excess and make sure there's no drips or, you know, big splotches of glaze that'll make bumps or anything or stuff like that. So, and then I usually like to do, you know, about like 4 or 5 coats of glaze. I feel like as long as you do 3, you'll be good. So do at least 3, but you know, feel free to do a couple more after that if you want. So this is what your little parakeet should look like when you're finished. I've given this one about 4 coats of glaze. And I mean, depending on what you're using it for, like if it's going to be like on a necklace or something or earrings, you could totally get away with, you know, just doing like 3 or 4 coats. But if you're going to put it on like a camera or an iPhone where it's going to get like banged around a lot, it would be a good idea to, you know, give it a couple extra coats for some added protection. So yeah, this is a little parakeet. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.